Ever play Metropolis Street Racer for the Sega Dreamcast? Or Project Gotham Racing for the Xbox? The two games are more closely related than you might think. I'm gonna review them both. Bizarrely, both games are creations of Bizarre Creations. Metropolis Street Racer, or MSR, was announced by Sega as a tantalizing North American European Dreamcast launch game, with graphics, if you were, say, a teenage nerd seeing screenshots and Die-Hard game fan in the 1990s, that were better than anything you'd seen before, and the promise of detailed recreations of 3 different cities sounded incredible. The game was a little late, arriving before the death of the Dreamcast in late 2000 in Europe and January 2001 in Canada. I picked it up and loved every little thing about it, except for one thing, and that one thing was so important. The game is British racing hard. I don't know if you've played a lot of British racing games, especially of the Bizarre or Codemasters variety, but they can be frequently frustrating to the point of being unable to progress. MSR was one such game for me. I wanted to get that Vauxhall V220 Opel Speedster on the cover so bad. I think I did, but it took weeks and weeks. Needless to say, I did not have the British racing skill to complete it. So why did I love it so much? The cities, San Francisco, Tokyo, and London were incredible. The sheer detail crammed into it for a Dreamcast game was monumental, especially the monuments. The cars were well modeled and very shiny, though without reflections, and the driving, while touchy, felt responsive and fun. In the cold, harsh light of 2023, I can say it's not the most gorgeous Dreamcast racer, with F355 Challenge and the Sega GT both doing a better job of showing off the Dreamcast's capabilities, but the cities are still cool. One gimmick to notice that the time of day is based off your Dreamcast's internal clock and your entered location in the game. So if you're playing at 4:30 a.m. in Vancouver, it'll be 8:30 p.m. in Tokyo and 12:30 p.m. in London. Combined with randomized effects like fog in San Francisco, it could mean that each race would vary in difficulty, as some would be so dark and foggy you couldn't even see the upcoming turns. The other gimmick that remained for all the PGR series to follow is the kudos system, or kudos if you're in England and pronounced kudos weird, building points and combos for driving with style. Unlike the later ones, you don't see the kudos as you accrue them except for the occasional cryptic "way hey" as you handbrake drift. You set goals on how well you're going to do for each event, and then win or lose kudos based on how you meet these goals. Winning each set of races doesn't guarantee you move along to the next, however. You're presented with a kudos total you have to exceed to move on, and even from the first set, it's British racing hard. It can take hours and hours to get out of the Miata MGF class if you're terrible like me. One other annoying thing to note is that penalties accrue as you race, and instead of, like in later PGR games, just breaking your combo, in this one you'll be hit at the end, especially of a race, with up to like 100 points taken off, to the point where you can lose kudos for finishing, and like finishing in first place, which is bonkers. One last detail, each city has its own set of radio stations, including the ones in Tokyo broadcasting in Japanese.
This is Tokyo 102.
次はフランスのバンドアスパンのクラブパリではどうぞ
And instead of licensed songs, they're originals by the composer Richard Jacques. These songs are also bonkers.
Sorry, but I didn't mean to trouble you. I was just cruising along in my BMW when I saw you driving by. You caught my eye, and then I thought, why are you on your own, all alone, talking with someone on the end of a phone? Is there another guy just waiting for you to get home? Ha, girl.
While I really have love for this game, I definitely recommend instead you move on to its unofficial sequel, Project Gotham Racing. Metropolis, Gotham, Batman, Superman. Get it? DC? Comics? Just like saying Detective Comics comics? Anyway. Instead of being a Sega game, the series was moved over to Microsoft and the Xbox. Which is why it's no longer called Metropolis Street Racer, because they didn't own the rights to that. And in North America, it was released 11 months after MSR. I never had an Xbox at the time, so I missed it. By the time I did get one in 2004, game stores were packed so full of used copies of PGR 1 and 2 for like $5 each. I opted for the second one and never even got too deep into it, due to MSR-related PTSD. What a game to miss! Unlike MSR and the rest of the PGR series, this one runs at 60 frames per second, and is so chock full of bright colors and reflections and moody sunsets, like a real 2000s game. Even in a couple hours, I was able to get through several levels of the Kudos mode. The events themselves are more forgiving, with usually pretty achievable bronze medals, and only the gold ones remaining British racing hard. San Francisco, London, and Tokyo are back, joined by New York City. You can see the compressed development time and the real chunky Dreamcast look of Tokyo, especially compared with the next-gen seeming New York City. Handling, too, feels much more natural and less twitchy, and more like a forgiving arcade racer. The Richard Jacques original songs are gone, replaced by a licensed soundtrack, which I wasn't entirely sure was their songs or mine, because I definitely saved the Gorillaz 19-2000 on my Xbox. One feature I love is that you can mix the local radio DJs from the game with your own songs, and it integrates them seamlessly, which is pretty awesome. Did I mention the game is pretty? With surprising amounts of deformation and hey, Porsches and Ferraris? I regret not playing this game until now, and I really do want to sink more time into it. If you're in the mood for a fun arcade racing game with some real British racing hard challenges, get this one. Though if you want to prove your skills to brag about it, MSR is still pretty cheap too for the Dreamcast. I'd like to do a retrospective on the whole PGR series in the future. Ever play these games? Which is your favorite? Comment or stitch, and let me know. Bye!
Let it go to the something like this. Well, excuse me, sorry, but I didn't mean to trouble you. I was just